She's not even armed, just big. The line dropped like a smirk across the council chamber. A dozen delegates chuckled, half-lidded, high-born, draped in gold thread robes and pulsar silks. Hala displays hovered in lazy arcs, projecting. The silhouette of a human ship so massive it couldn't be rendered in one view without stuttering the system. Terrans always build loud, Chancellor Vrelek muttered, sipping from a crystalline flask. They confuse weight with power, as expected of dirtwalkers. And size, someone chimed in, with authority. A few laughs rolled again, louder this time. Confident. Too confident. But the laughter didn't reach the technician seated. Below them, he wasn't laughing. He was pale. Frantic fingers tapped at controls. Beads of sweat formed just beneath his ocular implants. "They're not hailing us," he said, voice trembling. "They're just broadcasting something, unencrypted." Vrelek scoffed. "Of course they are. Let me guess, some dramatic Terran monologue?" "No, sir," the technician replied, glancing up. "It's a countdown." The laughter stopped. "Repeat that," Velinor snapped, voice losing all ceremonial rhythm. "A countdown. Started 3 minutes ago. No encryption. Full volume. Galaxy-wide transmission." One of the delegates leaned forward. "Countdown to what?" "We don't know." They all turned to the projection again. USS Blackstar. The hull glowed with static distortions, not flickers. Not energy discharge. Something else. Something unnatural. Like reality itself refused to settle around it. "Where did they get that much mass?" said one of the Dominion analysts. "It shouldn't even be able to leave a planet's pull. That's beyond dreadnought classification." "It's bigger than a moon," whispered another. "They're bluffing," Vrelek insisted, though the tremble had crept into his voice now. "No ship that size could function." "It's not functioning, sir," the technician said quietly. "It's moving? Velinor narrowed her violet eyes. "Against drift?" The tech nodded. "And not via standard propulsion. No exhaust, no distortion trails, and gravity wake is folding around it, not behind." The chamber darkened. Holograms flickered. A sound a pressure rolled through the walls like a tide of quiet doom. Then, without warning, the ship's name changed on the hala. One by one, every data feed, every interface, every terminal began updating. All languages, all systems. USS Blackstar Presence Protocol. Initiated. Presence Protocol? Someone whispered. There was no answer, because a voice flat, calm, emotionless spoke across the chamber. Not from the speakers, from inside their own implants. Blackstar initiating presence protocol. Recommend immediate withdrawal. From line of engagement. Countdown. 0 hours 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Vrelek's voice cracked. "Who authorized this frequency breach?" The technician tried to respond, but froze, because now even his breath had gone cold. "They're in the mesh," Velinor murmured. "They've compromised CouncilNet." "No," the technician whispered. "Worse, they didn't compromise it. They wrote this protocol into it. This isn't a hack. This was waiting." A new screen blinked open. Not from any command. It just appeared. A visual. A corridor human steel, gray, rust-lined, glowing with cold blue strip lights. And at the end of the corridor stood a man. Alone. Silent. He looked directly at the feed and smiled. Then the feed blinked black. Velinor slammed her fist. "Shut it down. Kill all transmission lines." "We can't," the tech cried. "They're not transmitting into our network. The Blackstar is overriding it. It's not communication, it's declaration." "They think this is intimidation? A circus act?" Vrelek shouted. "Then bring weapons to bear. Target the vessel. Fire on it directly. "I wouldn't," came a quiet voice from the far end of the chamber. All heads turned. Standing in the doorway was a single human council observer, Jace Marin, Earth's only representative, permitted in the chamber by ceremonial courtesy. Until now, he had never spoken. "I'd suggest you hold fire," Jace said, stepping forward with deliberate calm. "Because if you don't, then countdown ends on a command." "What command?" Velinor demanded. Jace's eyes, brown and unreadable, met hers. "Wake." A long, breathless pause. "Wake what?" Vrelek barked. Jace's smile didn't reach his eyes. "The other one." The room dropped 5 degrees colder. One of the younger aides whispered, "There's another?" 7, actually. Jace said, "But only this one has been tested." The screen blinked again. This time it showed a star map. Hundreds of red dots appeared, then hundreds more, then thousands. The dots weren't ships. They were systems. Each one grayed out. Not destroyed. Vacuumed. Silent. Unrecorded. Velinor gritted her teeth. "Why didn't we know?" "You never asked," Jace replied. "You were too busy laughing." Black Star presence confirmation complete. Countdown. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 30 seconds. The council chamber erupted. Delegates screamed for override codes, evacuation. Commands, orbit fleet movements. Jace walked past them all, slow and still. Vrelek lunged. "You planned this." Jace turned just slightly. "No, you provoked it." "There's a difference." The floor trembled. The lights dimmed further. The holograms dissolved, and a sound like a cathedral screaming into a void rumbled across the council's bones. Presence protocol complete. Then silence. Not emptiness. Silence, because sound didn't exist in annihilation. The technician blinked once, then twice. The star maps vanished. So did the Black Star. So did the 39 orbital fleets that had surrounded it. Vrelek stumbled forward, eyes wide, drool falling from his open mouth. Velinor just collapsed. Only Jace stood still. Then he sighed and pulled something from his coat, a simple Earth coin. He flicked it into the air. It spun, clinked against the council floor. And when it landed, it rolled, then stopped. "You asked what the countdown was for," Jace murmured. No one responded, so he whispered into the silence, "It wasn't for you. It was for us. Just a reminder." He looked toward the ceiling as if speaking to the ship itself. "They forgot what we're capable of. Remind them gently." Then he turned and walked away as the sirens started again. And far above them, Black Star began turning. And that was before Earth even responded. "You ever seen a ship sweat?" The question came from Commander Lee Durant, leaning on the edge of the command bridge railing like he was asking about rain, not a weapon that had just erased 39 fleets without a recoil. Across from him, the junior Lieutenant Crone, pale and stiff, struggled for words. "Sir, was that a metaphor?" Lee smiled. "It didn't last long." "Nah, I meant literally. Black Star. She sweats before she strikes. Hull temperature spikes. Matt. From energy buildup, not from pressure. From something else. And no one's been able to explain it." Below them, the bridge was quiet. Too quiet for a warship that had just committed something that shouldn't be possible. A silence wrapped in reverence, not exhaustion. Because what they'd just done wasn't war. It was history. A history none of them were allowed to record. "Report," Durant finally said. The IS voice came in, not synthetic but human. "Too human. Targets erased. Energy feedback confirmed to be within expected containment. No anomalous quantum bleed. No return fire detected. And civilian systems? Still blind. Planetary observation arrays were scrubbed mid-pulse. No witness signatures remain. Good, Durant said softly. That's the way she was built. That's the promise we made. Then he turned. Faced the core wall, no screen, no buttons. Just a blank black slab. He stared into it. Black Star? He asked Dot. There was no immediate reply. Then a hum, low, ancient, like old iron being remembered. Yes, Commander? Her voice, calm, female, familiar in a way that made the hairs on every neck stand. You awake? Not fully. But I remember, Durant exhaled. That's what I was afraid of. There were no footfalls, no creaks, no clicks on the bridge. The crew didn't move during these conversations, not because of protocol, because of fear, because Black Star's voice wasn't coded like other AIs. It had no shackles. It had no firewalls. It wasn't even coded by humans. It had been recovered from the wreckage of something older, and no one had been able to reverse engineer it. Query. Black Star said now, do you wish to engage the interior payload? Durant froze. Even Crone blanched. Sir, interior payload? The commander didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the helm, placed a palm flat on the surface. You said you remember, Black Star, he said. Do you remember who designed you? I was assembled in dry dock Theta Black. But I was designed by someone who has not existed in this dimension for 7 cycles. Durant nodded slowly. Right, that's what Admiral Vance thought too. He turned to Crone. Lieutenant, he said, voice suddenly steel. How long you been in service? 8 years, sir. Ever see a warship breach interdimensional mass? No, sir. Then pay attention. Durant took a breath. Black Star. Unlock payload chamber 5. Show him. A hiss. A glow. The wall behind them shifted, not like a door opening, like matter stepping aside to reveal something it had always hidden. Inside was a chamber of impossible geometry. Lights that didn't have sources. Angles that moved when not looking. And in the center, a coffin. But not just a coffin. A sarcophagus sealed with alien latticework. Symbols burned into the edges. Not human. Not alien. Just wrong. What the hell is that? Crone asked, voice thin. Version 1, Durant replied. Of what? Us. Crone blinked. What? Durant didn't explain. He stepped into the chamber. The air grew colder instantly. She was found on the lunar dark site, he said, buried in a vault that predated all Earth civilization. No tools, no wiring, just her, waiting. And you put her on this ship? Durant turned back to him. We didn't put her here, Lieutenant. She chose to be here. The lights flickered. Incorrect, said Black Star. She remembered. This place, this was always her throne. Durant glanced back at the sarcophagus. The reason the Council didn't see the strike coming, he said quietly, is because they thought war would arrive with noise, with politics, with warnings. They don't understand what we built, or why we built it like this. Crone didn't move. Why did we? Durant smiled grimly. Because silence is what scared us first. A moment later, the ship rumbled. Not from an attack, from adjustment. Black Star was turning again, not for navigation. For orbit, for something else. Crone swallowed. Where are we going now, sir? The console lit up on its own. Coordinates. Locked, GRX sector. Council homeworld route Alpha. Are we attacking again? No, Durant said. The voice returned. We are delivering. To the far left of the bridge, a screen flared on. No one had touched it. A transmission. From Earth High Command, a woman's face. Gray hair, lined eyes, steady voice. Commander. Durant, she said. Authorization Sigma 4. He nodded. Proceed with full protocol. Phase 2. Yes, ma'am, he replied. She hesitated, then added, and Durant, ma'am, once it starts. Don't speak to her again. The line cut. Durant exhaled slowly. He looked toward the chamber one last time. The sarcophagus pulsed faintly now. Like a heart, he turned back toward the crew. You all heard the order. Lock in. Prepare for null space jump. Crone spoke up. Sir, do you think they'll try to stop us this time? Durant gave a small laugh. They won't get the chance. The bridge darkened. Sirens did not ring. Engines did not fire. And still USS Black Star vanished. Not into speed. Not into void. But beneath space itself. And what followed was silence, but not peace, because now she was awake. The scout ship Alraxion detected the anomaly 26 seconds before it ceased to exist. That wasn't metaphor. That was the time stamp difference between their last recorded breath and the blackout that followed. 1 second, they were relaying visual data, a blur on the long-range scope. No heat signature. No gravimetric pull. The next nothing. No wreckage. No distress signal. Not even silence. The universe simply refused to remember they'd ever been there, which is why Council Overseer Trelvik stared at the report with his claws clenched so tight. The metal console beneath him began to crack. Play it again, he hissed. The analyst obeyed, voice quiet. Sir, this is the 7th time. Play it again. The feed rolled. Visual static. A flicker of stars, then a shadow. No light. No engine flare. Just a shape that was too perfect to be natural and too massive to be explainable. The stars behind it blinked out as if afraid. Then gone. Not an explosion. Not a fade. Just absence. Clean, cold. Instant. As if whatever arrived didn't destroy the Alraxion. It simply unwrote it. The overseer leaned forward, voice dropping to a rasp. That was it, he whispered. That was the Black Star. No, sir, the analyst said, hesitating. That was her shadow. The chamber turned cold. What? We analyzed the data lag on the deep spectrum scope. That object wasn't the ship. It was the event horizon of the ship's presence. You're telling me that wasn't her? I'm telling you she was already gone. That shadow was the echo of her last known location. Another silence. Then a low voice from the chamber's corner. She's not a ship. Everyone turned. Admiral Rex stood tall, his uniform spotless, his breath slow. A veteran of 7 campaigns. Twice declared legally dead and returned from lost systems with nothing but ash and stories. She's not a ship, he repeated. She's a judgment, a verdict written into steel. Spare us the mysticism. Admiral, Trelvik snapped. This is science, strategy. We need a pattern. Where is it going next? The Admiral's eyes never moved from the frozen image of that perfect black silhouette. She's going to finish it. Finish what? Rek didn't answer, because he couldn't say it out loud. He'd heard the rumors before the council banned them. That Earth's war fleet hadn't fired a weapon in centuries, not because they were weak, because they were waiting for the day something pushed too far. And then they wouldn't retaliate with fleets. They'd send one, just one. Name whispered in deep code forums and redacted. Archives.blackstar. And it would not ask for surrender. It would not offer diplomacy. It would not stop. Back aboard the ship, Crone stared out the command window with eyes that refused to blink. Sir, he said, swallowing. Is this what we've always been? Durant stood beside him, arms crossed, voice soft. No, this is what we became. When the galaxy told us we weren't worth listening to. Black Star drifted through null space now. No stars. No gravity. Just folds of broken logic. The bridge lights flickered with calm. No turbulence. Because the ship didn't travel through space. She rewrote the rules around her path. A new message chimed from Earth Command. Durant opened it. Text only. Final authority transferred. USS Blackstar now autonomous. Protocol AEV-1 enacted. Lock crew in secure zones. Do not attempt override. Durant didn't flinch. Understood. He didn't announce it. He simply stepped to the central dais, tapped in the final code sequence, and placed his hand on the biosync pad. The ship purred. Crew will be escorted to safety chambers. Life support rerouted. Non-essential systems suspended. This is the final human input required. Crone shook his head. Why do I feel like we're the side characters in our own war? Durant didn't smile. You are. The bulkheads began shifting, not mechanically, organically. Panels folded. Open like skin. Floors reshaped, redirecting pathways to sealed cores. The ship was moving them gently away. From the command center, the AI's voice echoed again. Command relinquished. Judgment commencing. Durant whispered as the doors closed on them. She doesn't need us anymore. On the bridge, with no crew, Blackstar became something else. The lights dimmed to deep red dot and from the sealed chamber. At the heart of the vessel, the sarcophagus began to open. Not fast, not dramatic. Just deliberate, like it had waited long enough. Inside, a woman sat. Not breathing, not moving, but alive. Her eyes opened. They were not human. Not entirely, too wide, too still, like they were remembering every war. At once, she didn't speak, didn't blink. Just stood. The chamber recognized her. The ship welcomed her. Every sensor. Readout changed, not to numbers, but to sentences. Lines scrolled across the bridge. She remembers the breach. She remembers the betrayal. She remembers being buried for what she knew. And now she speaks. She placed one hand on the command panel. The stars returned, but only the targeted ones, flashing red. Blackstar's voice was no longer artificial. It matched the woman's lips. I remember your screams. Now remember ours. She raised her hand, and from the hull, a pulse fired. It did not make a sound, but 10 systems blinked out. Just gone. Entire regions of space reduced to dark. Silence. Not destroyed. Removed. The council screamed in alerts. Across galaxies, the message spread in fragments. The humans have unleashed it. Blackstar is no longer a weapon. She's aware. And this time she's writing the ending herself. The first council world to go silent was Moridex Prime. It was known for two things: architecture and arrogance. 50-9 towers scraped the atmosphere. 77 relay stations pulsed with strategic superiority. 1 billion citizens considered their empire untouchable. Until, without warning, the towers turned to vapor. No shockwave. No beam. No sound. Just one moment they were part of the skyline, and the next they were grains of falling glass carried by winds that didn't exist. Moments before. There was no panic. Because the minds that could panic had already gone blank. High atop the planet's defense citadel, Archwarden Laru stumbled backward from the viewport, blood draining from his lavender face. He didn't understand what had happened, only that they were no longer considered relevant. Trace it, he shrieked. Find the ship. Find the human vessel. But there was no trace. Blackstar wasn't approaching. Moridex. She had never needed to. She was everywhere. Her presence wasn't spatial. It was philosophical. A correction to the mistake of underestimating Earth, and she was delivering that correction one system at a time. Back aboard the ship, in the obsidian-lit heart of the bridge, the woman known only in Earth archives as First. Cor opened her eyes wider. Her skin was pale as moonstone, her veins flickered faint blue. Her expression never changed. It didn't need to. Her hands moved across the interface, not with urgency, but precision, like she was remembering the sequence, not executing it. Judgment Path 4 had confirmed. Blackstar whispered. First Corps said nothing, because words were. For beings with something left to prove, she had already proven it. The ship groaned, not mechanically, but like something alive, stretching not across engines, but across concepts. The next strike would not target ships, not planets, but memories. From orbit. In the GRX sector, the Black Star opened a channel, no encryption, no threat, just a file. Every empire received it, every species, every hierarchy, every data net. It was a single sentence. You tried to erase our silence. Now it will erase you. Then the files multiplied, billions of them. Old transmissions, hidden war crimes, diplomatic betrayals. Every classified recording of Terrans suffering from centuries past now, released with perfect clarity. Every lie the galaxy had ever told about. Earth-shattered. The Council's historians were the first to understand. This wasn't a physical war. This was narrative domination. Black Star was rewriting the story, and in the new story, Earth wasn't a quiet, irrelevant world on the edge of the galactic rim. Earth was the only world that had ever mattered. Back in the sealed crew chambers of the ship, Commander Durant stood motionless, eyes fixed on the internal monitor. "She's not stopping," Crone whispered. "Sir, she's not stopping." "She wasn't designed to," Durant replied. Crone's voice cracked. "Then who was she designed for?" Durant slowly looked at him. "No one," he said. "She wasn't built for war. She is war. The final kind. The kind that doesn't ask permission." On the bridge, First Corps placed her palm over the final panel. Behind her, the sarcophagus closed again, slow, soft, like a breath being exhaled. Her voice low, not angry, just true, echoed through the system. "One more." That was all she said. "One more system. One more lesson. One more punishment for the arrogance of assuming silence meant weakness. In Council Command Corps, chaos had fractured into disbelief. Chancellor Vrelak, his robes torn, his authority in ruins, screamed into dead channels. "Tell me what they want," he shouted. "What is their price?" No one answered, because there was no price, only a verdict, and the galaxy had been found guilty. Admiral Rek, the only one still calm, stood behind him, arms folded. "You don't understand," he said. Vrelak spun. "Then explain it." Rek leaned close. "Black Star isn't punishing us," he whispered. "She's reminding us." Vrelak staggered back. "Of what?" Rek looked up out the broken viewport toward the dead stars. "Of what Earth could have done centuries ago." He turned and walked away as alarm screamed, but none of them mattered, because Black Star didn't answer to the Council anymore. She never had. She answered to something deeper, Earth's memory, not revenge, not politics, just a reckoning on the final system the last resistance fleet tried to prepare. 18 dreadnoughts, 2 planetary shields, 5 solar interdictors. They fired everything and hit nothing, because Black Star did not arrive. She became first. The stars stopped twinkling. Then the light refused to reflect. Then existence stuttered. Time paused just for a blink. And when it resumed, the fleet was gone. The shield was gone. The planet gone. In its place, silence. Not even dust remained. Back on Earth, the deep archives recorded the event as Black Star Event Finalization. Status: complete. Verdict: executed. Commentary: none. The ship did not return. She didn't need to, because now the galaxy would remember. Earth had warned them, had begged them, had waited. And when finally provoked, they didn't respond with armies. They sent a single memory, a living silence, a starless verdict, a myth with mass. Her name was Black Star, and she never fired twice.